That's just as bad as lying in the opposite direction, in my book. If you're lying fraudulently to get more VA disability, that's obviously horrible. And also in my book, if you're lying and undercutting your loved ones, your family, by pretending that you're much better than you are, in my opinion, that's just as bad. Well, it's happening. It looks like the VA is drastically reducing their workforce of examiners. This has a huge impact on our VA disability claims and the process that you're going to take to finally get the rating you deserve. You've got to get this right in terms of your C&P exam now, since there's going to be less examiners for the same amount of veterans. So we're going to today give you some actionable advice on how to go about these new exams, and more importantly, if you have a bad exam, how to sort of axe your own examiner and request a new exam within the same claim window so that you don't miss out. I'm Jordan Anderson with VA Claims Academy. Let's get into it. So here's a story that may resonate with many of you. You've been in the military doing crazy runs on pavement in combat boots, maybe propelling out of helicopters, lifting heavy machinery, things like this, and you're finally doing your VA disability claim, potentially after decades removed from the service, just to be told by maybe some civilian nurse practitioner that they don't see how running in combat boots could have led to your foot pain, or they don't see how lifting heavy ammunition could have led to your back pain. This happens a lot, and it's a big problem with what we call C&P exams, which is the compensation and pension exam, meaning the VA, they have contractors to take a look at you and give their medical opinion on whether your conditions are service-related or not, or how severe they are, once they are deemed service-related. This is the most important day of your entire VA claim. So it's important to know, especially now that the examiners are going to be reduced. There's going to be less exams scheduled. If you get scheduled for a compensation and pension exam, it's time to really take advantage of that and do it right so you don't have to do it again. With these tips in this video, you can actually turn a kind of mediocre claim with not much evidence, and just the fact that you have this C&P examiner now on your side, fully convinced and believing that, hey, you know what? This could be related to service. When they give that stamp of approval, oftentimes the VA rater blindly follows the opinion of your examiner. So that's how powerful these tips are, okay? By the way, let me interrupt myself for a second. Quick shout out to CJ, one of our clients. I don't know if I can use your last name or not, but CJ, recovering from foot surgery. Hope you're well, in good spirits, and recovering quickly. Back to the video. So number one, the biggest mistake that I've seen, and I've helped thousands and thousands of veterans nail their C&P exams as part of course, being a member at VA Claims Academy. One of the biggest issues that I see is the litigator, right? So you're going into your compensation and pension exam from a position of wanting to litigate for yourself, which is a good thing, but you have to be more tactful than that. You got to think, the mind of the C&P examiner, they're a VA contractor, okay? They're looking to get back to the break room as quick as possible. That's how you have to have that mindset. They don't necessarily, they're not trying to be out to get you. So when you go in with the thought of, hey, let me not try to be the aggressive litigator for my own case, but let me try to be the helper and play the role of the helper to get this examiner back to the break room as quickly as possible and successfully give the yes opinion on my claim, that's when the magic really happens. Here's a couple examples of that. During your big day, you're called in for your compensation and pension exam. It's smart of you to print off your personal statement. It's smart of you to print off any medical appointments that are really relevant to your condition or how it's related to your service, especially if you're not applying for an increase, right? Because if you're applying for a VA disability increase, that means the VA has already deemed you service connected. Let's say you're trying to get back from 10% to 40%. You don't have to convince them that it's related to service or not. It's all about the severity at that point, right? So if you're going in for a new condition, new in the sense that it's not rated by the VA yet, I would spend 90% of my effort in convincing that examiner that it's connected to service. And I do that by carrying a copy of my personal statement, carrying a copy of, hey, I had this complaint while in the military. during my post-deployment exam, where they noted that I complained about back pain. Here's the printout of that. You can see it right here if you like. Now you're saying that, hey, you don't have to go look through my records and find out that the VA didn't actually forward you my records, and then now it's, a pain and it's taking a lot of your time. I have it right here. Here it is. You can visualize on it. Oh, okay. Makes my job easy. That is how you nail your CNP exam. And by the way, I talked to veterans all week long. We've refined this strategy. I've seen it work thousands and thousands of times over, as you can see on your screen right now. The results speak for themselves, so you're definitely going to want to follow these simple tips. On the opposite end, let me show you what the litigator looks like, which again, you think that you're being, a bulldog for yourself and you're fighting for yourself and it feels good. But the moment you are unlikable to the examiner, and that's how messed up this process is, they have a lot of liberty to just kind of go against what you're saying and not have much pushback as a return. Even if you call the hotline, and we'll put the hotline number on the screen for you, if you feel like you've had a bad CNP exam and the examiner is being inappropriate or what have you, you can definitely report that. But I'll be honest with you, there's very little in terms of what happens when you call that CNP exam hotline. It's very rare that you can request a new exam and actually get that. In my opinion, the fact that there's going to be fewer examiners will even reduce that likelihood even further. So the fact that you're scheduled for the exam, now is the time to be the helper, not the litigator. Carry with you a folder with maybe your personal statement. Again, relevant medical documentation. You don't want a huge, thick binder of stuff, but things that you can offer to the examiner with the spirit of helping them complete their job easier, and not, hey, look at this right here. This says that it's more confrontational, and I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, it won't go your way. Now, I want to be very clear. The fact that you're playing the role of the helper as your tactic, tactically playing the role of the helper to get this done right for you and your loved ones, it doesn't mean that you're assuming that the examiner is your friend, right? So when you go into your compensation and pension exam and they ask you, hey, John, how are you today? You're not going to want to click your heels and say, hey, I'm doing great today. I feel amazing. Because all of this could go as part of your examination into your notes, right? It could go into your file. So something just middle of the road, hey, well, I'm here, or, I could be better, could be worse. Just kind of give a neutral answer, because I'm telling you, now is not the time to be your normal positive self, oh, it could be worse self. I've spoken with a lot of you on the phone, and so many of you, even though other people from the outside looking in would say, wow, how are you this positive with this disability, that disability? And it's like, well, I'm grateful that I'm not getting fired at today. The day of your CMP exam really is the day to show them what your real worst days look like. I tell this to my clients all the time. How many days do you get to, maybe get out of bed, you maybe slept in, you get yourself a frothy latte, and you get to stroll into your CNP exam as if that is your everyday life, as if you don't have to, help out with maybe lifting up groceries or, picking up your grandkids or something like that, and it flares you up for the whole rest of the day. It's an unrealistic examination to begin with in terms of ideal scenarios. I know that some of you have to drive a long way and maybe that locks your back up, so that's kind of different. But don't be afraid, again, to showcase what your actual bad days look like, because that is reality. So a lot of veterans will convince themselves into trying to be a hero with these range of motion exams, right? These range of motion tests. They use something like this, right? This is called a goniometer. It's a measurement tool that measures the degrees, right? So let's say that you're standing straight up and this is your spine right now, and they tell you to bend down towards your toes, and now your upper back is doing this angle, right? So that's their measurement. So let's say, okay, hey, 15 degrees. A lot of veterans convince themselves that, hey, now's the time again to once again be a hero during this exam, push my body past its breaking point, past the limits of pain, and it's just conditioning at that point, right? Because what do you really get out of it? You're undercutting your loved ones because you're acting like you're less hurt than you actually are. That's just as bad as lying in the opposite direction, in my book. If you're lying fraudulently to get more VA disability, that's obviously horrible. And also in my book, if you're lying and undercutting your loved ones, your family, by pretending that you're much better than you are, in my opinion, that's just as bad. So today's the time to get a realistic picture of your actual ailments and how bad they are on your worst days. That leads me to the parting tip that I'll leave you with, which is prepare the examiner to instruct you to stop at the point of pain. And here's what I mean. It feels much better when you hear it directly from the examiner. Hey, no, I don't want you to stop at the point of pain. And then you feel much better. It's like, hey, well, yeah, my back pain is already starting to hit right now. And then you really stop. So what I encourage my clients to do is whenever you have a range of motion exam, particularly, let's say with back, again, that forward bend, reach towards your toes, I would stop and ask the examiner, oh, okay, this might be bad. Do you want me to stop when I feel sharp pain? And there's very few contracted examiners that are going to want to torture you for no reason, right? So they're going to be like, yeah, stop at sharp pain. Now you're at liberty and you got an order from the examiner. Not that they can give you orders, but it helps mentally. It's like, okay, hey, well, yeah, there's the pain. They could do it again. Yeah, there's the pain again. And you haven't been a hero at this point, right? So use that trick. Ask them, hey, do you want me to stop at sharp pain? 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes. Even if they say no, push past until your back breaks. Are you going to listen to them? No, this is your body. You're no longer in the service. You're not government property any longer. Your duty is now to your own household, and you need to be whole and not flared up for the whole rest of your week so that you can take care of that, okay? I really hope this video helped you out. Definitely leave me your feedback below with your experience on good C&P examiners, bad C&P examiners, but some bad examiners you will never turn into good examiners, and there's nothing you could do, right? But this is for those sort of middle of the road examiners, which might be 80% of them, which your attitude going in and your tactics going in can actually flip that and change your entire VA rating and your family's life forever. I'm Jordan Anderson. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.